know is what I read, some 2 or 3 sentences that was in some report that came out overnight, and since I don't know anything more about it than just what I read, that's all I can say at this point.
Senator Chuck Grassley, who chairs the Judiciary Committee, reacting to news his Democratic counterpart Dianne Feinstein referred a letter to the FBI alleging sexual misconduct by Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh when he was in high school. And we're back now with the panel. Well, Carl, what do you think of this latest allegation against Judge Kavanaugh about something that he did when he was, or allegedly did when he was a teenager? And generally, how do you think Democrats handled the confirmation?
Well, look, this has gone from bad to worse. I mean, Senator Spartacus D. of Thrace embarrassed himself. Camilla Harris mistook the hearing for an audition for Law and Order for a minor part as a prosecutor in Law and Order. And now we have this dreadful letter from Dianne Feinstein, who's had this since July. The letter is anonymous from somebody who doesn't want the issue pressed and doesn't want her name exposed, and suddenly we're supposed to take this as a reason to either delay the process or, worse yet, to take one of the most distinguished persons ever nominated for the Supreme Court and deny him a seat. And I think this is shameful. It's a sign of the depths to which our Congress has fallen. And this all started with a great man doing a bad thing by borking Robert Bork, and it has gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. 95% of Republicans voted for Ginsburg, 75% voted for Stephen Breyer, half the Democrats voted for Roberts, 10% of them voted for Alito, and I'd be shocked if more than 1 or 2 or 3 Democrats voted for Brett Kavanaugh. Thus far, the decline.
Julie, do officials at the White House think that this allegation about something that happened decades ago, literally, could derail his confirmation? How confident are they, even at this point, that Judge Kavanaugh will be Justice Kavanaugh when the Supreme Court starts its new session in October? One of the things that gave them a bit of confidence toward the end of last week after this letter from Feinstein came out was that you didn't see a lot of Democrats really jumping on this. Democrats have been looking for some way to slow down the nomination, and there was a sense that if the letter from Feinstein was real, if they felt like it could actually have an effect at holding off his confirmation, that you would see Harris and Booker and some of these other Democrats really piling on, and that hasn't happened. And to your point earlier, that you didn't have any Democrats. Yeah, we asked every single 10 members, Democrats on the committee, and we assumed that one of them would want to come on to... And it's striking. If you do feel like, if you're a Democrat and you do feel like this is something that could slow down the nomination, you would expect to be out here pushing this forward. I think that Republicans are still a little worried about Collins and Murkowski, the 2 swing Republicans who haven't said either way what they're going to do. A lot of attention will be on them early this week. But at this point, I think the White House is fairly confident that this is going to move forward. We do know that Collins spoke to Kavanaugh on the phone for an hour on Friday, so whatever she's going to do, she had a full time to ask him about it.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator, why if the Democratic Party had this in July, why did they hold it? I agree with Senator Collins. I thought she was very, very smart in her comment. It's not fair to anybody here.
Right. Well, here's what I would say. If I believed the person in front of me had committed a serious offense that would disqualify them from being on the Supreme Court, I would bring it up to them. I would not let that go unchallenged. So here's what I'm going to do. This is not that complicated. It's a 36-year-old allegation. It's a serious allegation. Everybody needs to be heard, but also people need to defend themselves. I'm going to look at what she said about Brett Kavanaugh in high school and compare that to everything else I know about Brett Kavanaugh, including his denial, and I'll make a decision. And here's what I want your audience to know. If Ms. Ford really did not want to come forward, never intended to come forward, never planned to come forward, why did she pay for a polygraph in August? And why did she hire a lawyer in August if she never intended to do what she's doing?
Nobody else has made that point, Senator. It's a poignant point and an interesting question.
And who paid for it?
Has she agreed to be interviewed or go before the Senate committee?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
She's welcome to come. We're going to have a hearing Monday. She can come if she likes. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to. Kavanaugh can come if he would like. I think he will. We're going to vote on Wednesday. All I can say is that I've been a prosecutor, a judge, and a defense counsel all of my life before I got into politics. This case could not go before a criminal court because it's too old. No lawyer would bring it as a civil suit because it's just too hard to prove. The question for the Senate, is there really enough evidence here, given the nature of the allegation, how old it is, and the uncertain nature of it, to deny this man who's lived an incredible life a promotion to the Supreme Court? And if it was this bad, why did not the Democrats challenge Judge Kavanaugh when he was sitting right there in front of them?
What is your speculation? Well, what's the answer to that? Why didn't they bring it forward? And
I think it's part of a pattern. They can't beat him on the law, so they're trying to destroy his life. If a conservative had edited a tape of a liberal nominee to the court, where you take their words and turn them upside down, they tried to suggest that Judge Kavanaugh used the word or term abortion-inducing drugs when it was the plaintiff, the priest for life. Remember what Kamala Harris did to Judge Kavanaugh? Tried to put words in his mouth. Remember what they tried to say, that he had some knowledge of stolen documents when he did not? So there's been a pattern by Democrats on this committee to take his words out of context, to try to accuse him of things he had nothing to do with. And the last straw here is this allegation that came about last Thursday. And again, why didn't they act on it before?
The Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to vote this week to send the nomination to the Supreme Court of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Senate floor. But will a letter accusing Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct in high school derail his confirmation? Joining us now from Louisiana, Senator John Kennedy, a Republican member of the Judiciary Committee. We should note we invited all 10 committee Democrats to join us today. None of them accepted. But we're happy to have you, Senator Kennedy. What do you make of this allegation against Kavanaugh back when he was a teenager? Do you think it'll do anything to derail his nomination, his confirmation?
I'm fairly confident that our founding fathers did not intend the process to work this way. So far, it's pretty much been an intergalactic freak show. Senator Grassley, our chairman, did the best he could at the hearing. Senators kept interrupting him. They ignored the rules. We had over 240 protesters who stood up screaming. The only thing I think was the genitalia-shaped headgear. There were wild accusations about Kavanaugh, that he's evil, he hates women, he hates children, he hates little warm puppies. And now we have this recent allegation by Senator Feinstein. I mean, here's what we know. She's produced a letter. It's a secret letter, and we're not entitled to see it or know who wrote it. It supposedly was put together with the help of Stanford Law School. The lady in the letter says that 35 years ago, when she was a teenager and Judge Kavanaugh was a teenager, he allegedly made sexual advances against her at a party. Now, Kavanaugh denies it. The only other person in the room denies it. Senator Feinstein's had the letter since July for 3 months. She said nothing. Nothing. Zero. Nada. Zilch. She didn't say anything in the confirmation hearing. She didn't say anything in our confidential session with Judge Kavanaugh when the senators and the nominee met privately. And now, after it's all over, she produces the letter. I think, Chris, in my opinion, most Americans are looking at this, most mainstream Americans, and they're thinking that Congress has hit rock bottom and started to dig. And I have been embarrassed by the whole process. And frankly, I'm no disrespect to Senator Feinstein or to Stanford Law School, but I'm a little bit offended. I sit on Judiciary Committee. They've had this stuff for 3 months. If they were serious about it, they should have told us about it.
Okay, so that was the full answer. Do you think that your committee will approve the Kavanaugh nomination and send it to the floor on this week as scheduled?
Yes, I think the vote will be 11-10.
That's a straight party line vote.
Straight party line vote. I think the nomination will come to the floor. That'll be up to Senator McConnell. I think every Republican will vote for Judge Kavanaugh. I think at least 2, and probably more Democrats will. You may disagree with Judge Kavanaugh's political or judicial philosophy. I don't. Kavanaugh believes that the role of a judge is to interpret the law, not make the law, and I agree with that. No fair-minded American can believe that he's not qualified. He went to Yale Law School. He didn't get his law degree from Costco. He has a total command of Supreme Court precedent. I think he's a legal rock star. Now, this new allegation, I don't know what our Democratic friends expect us to do. What do they want us to do? We got a letter, but it's secret. We don't know who wrote it. All we know is that a female wrote it from California, and Stanford Law School helped to write it. And we can't see who are going to cross-examine? Senator Feinstein? I mean, give me a break.
I want to ask you, as I think folks already recognize, if they didn't know you already, you're colorful. And one of the things that you say is that this hearing shows that crazy never takes a vacation in Congress. I ask you about 2 Democratic senators and what they did in the hearings. First of all, Cory Booker, who said he was defying the rules and releasing confidential emails. Here he is.
I will say that I did willingly violate the chair's rule on the committee confidential process. I take full responsibility for violating that, sir.
But, of course, as we all know now, it turns out that the committee had already released those confidential emails before Cory Booker made such a big show about releasing them. And then there was Democratic Senator Kamala Harris, who sounded like she had a bombshell. Here she is.
Have you discussed Mueller or his investigation with anyone at Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer? Be sure about your answer, sir.
But as alarming as that sounded, Senator Harris never produced any evidence that, in fact, Kavanaugh had talked to anyone at the law firm about Robert Mueller. What do you think was going on with the Democrats in this hearing?
Well, I'm not going to impugn the motives of Senator Harris or Senator Booker. In fact, I was presiding for Senator Grassley when Senator Booker first started his cross-examination of the judge with a document that was supposed to be confidential. And I was asked to cut him off. I said, no, I'm not going to cut him off. Let's let it rip. Let it rip. Let it all come out. But here's the bottom line. Both Cory and Senator Harris, they want an activist liberal judge. They want a judge who will rewrite the Constitution every other Thursday to advance political agendas that they can't get by the voters in a representative democracy through Congress. Now, I don't. I think that judges are supposed to call the balls and the strikes. They're supposed to say what the law is, not what the law ought to be. We just disagree. Now, that's why God made Congress. Let's go vote. Here's where we are. Let's go vote. We've done everything we can do. I know we've got the last-minute secret allegation, but there's nothing we can do about that. Kavanaugh's been through 6, not 4, not 5, 6 FBI background checks. None of this stuff has ever come up before.
Senator?
Let's go vote.
Senator, I got about a minute left, so I'm going to ask, I'm going to invoke cloture here. I want to switch subjects with you and ask you about Paul Manafort's decision to take a plea deal and agree to cooperate with the special counsel. Thoughts on how big a deal this conceivably could be? All of this is just speculation. I can speculate as well as anybody else, but none of us know, Chris. Here's what I do know. I do know that Russia tried to interfere in our election in 2016. They've only been doing it for 50 years. And other countries probably did and are trying to do it right now for the midterms. That's number one. Number two, I don't think that Mr. Mueller should be fired. I think we ought to let him finish his investigation. I wish he would hurry. He needs to get to the bottom of this, but do it quickly. Right. Number three, I want him to report to the American people, give them the facts. The American people are smart enough to figure it out, and then let's get back to the business of trying to fix this country. Senator Kennedy, thank you. Thanks for your time, and of course we'll follow this week's vote by the Judiciary Committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.
I think It's really too bad that no one called her or called her lawyer. My understanding is she got emails. And this is a woman, and I really believe, who's been profoundly impacted by this. Now, I can't say everything's truthful. I don't know. Right. But I do know that they had to contact her lawyers.
Well, they did. We checked in with Senator Grassley's office. She has now been invited numerous times to appear before the committee before sending this letter tonight. Now, Feinstein, after being excoriated by the base of her party, she tried to walk back those comments, saying, oh, she believes Professor Ford is credible. But this is the opposite of what we believe in this country, the presumption of innocence, due diligence. And frankly, what you're seeing and what you're observing and what you're watching is dirty political tricks at its worst. We should listen to all sides. And then I trust the American people will come to the truth. I trust senators will make the right decision.